Hey everyone, welcome back to Rooster's weekly video update. This week, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has stated that the country will reopen in stages, with hospitality likely to be one of the last sectors to reopen fully. Speaking during a visit to Wales, the Prime Minister said the country would leave lockdown in stages cautiously, as he stressed the need for progress to be one way. Brits may be allowed to take self-catering holidays as soon as the Easter holidays in early April, thanks to the falling rates of COVID-19. The Times reported that ministers are examining plans that would allow people to go away for self-catering breaks as soon as the Easter holidays, after the Prime Minister said he expected coronavirus rates to fall sharply in a matter of weeks. A trip to the beach may be one of the safest post-lockdown activities Britons will be able to take part in, a Sage scientist has suggested, after evidence shows the risk of outdoor transmission of COVID-19 is low. There's been very little evidence that any transmission outdoors is happening in the UK, said Mark Walhouse, Professor of Infectious Disease Epidemiology at the University of Edinburgh. While trips abroad may have to wait due to the risk of importing dangerous new variants, beach visits domestically could be given the green light, Professor Walhouse has said. Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has advised Scots not to book Easter holidays and warned overseas summer holidays are unlikely. However, she has said that summer staycations might be possible, stressing that these would depend on COVID data nearer the time. The Scottish First Minister's statement has sparked a wider debate in the travel industry as to whether the government should be doing more to protect travel firms by remaining optimistic about future travel. We link in the article to a Twitter thread by travel expert Paul Charles, which shows the real variety of opinions are held by the wider public on the travel issue. In a show of support for the struggling travel industry, more than 300 companies have now joined the Save Our Summer campaign by SOS Travel, with membership almost tripling in a day. The campaign urges the government to set a date for reopening travel to restore consumer confidence that it is safe to book. Save Our Summer is also calling for quarantine measures to be lifted by the 1st of May and replaced with a rigorous testing program. Despite a lack of clarity as to whether or not holidays will be able to go ahead this year, UK consumers have not lost their appetite to travel, according to research firm Mintel, with a study suggesting 1 in 3 still intend to take an overseas holiday this year. This research in late January found that 2/3 of UK adults intend to take a holiday in the UK or abroad, despite the current lockdown and restrictions on travel. 1 in 5 said they planned an overseas holiday in Europe, and 10% a trip beyond. Only 1 in 3 people had no plans for a holiday whatsoever. And accords between Greece, Cyprus, and Israel, allowing citizens with COVID-19 vaccination certificates to travel unimpeded between the 3 countries, have been hailed as a possible first step towards normalizing tourism during the next phase of the pandemic. Over in social, LinkedIn has published a new guide for marketing and sales teams looking to reinforce their account-based marketing processes on the platform, very heavily B2B, so if you're in that space, check that out. LinkedIn is also developing a new program to support the platform's content creators. So the site's editor-in-chief has posted a new job ad for a head of community at LinkedIn, aimed at facilitating further growth for the creators who've helped grow conversations on the platform by 50% year on year. YouTube continues to put more emphasis on Shorts, their TikTok clone, and as such have just announced the new Shorts report. Every 2 weeks, YouTube will publish a new Shorts report, which will include reviews of other creators' shorts, some strategy tips, spotlights for reference, and a Q&A to help you make the most of the format. And as TikTok continues to explore its development, it's now adding a new recipe integration. We've all seen beautiful 15-second recipes that aren't nearly as straightforward as they seem in the video, so now the app's partnered with Whisk to enable creators of food videos to post a link to the relevant recipe. It's the latest in a series of integrations like Wikipedia links for more info and Yelp and TripAdvisor recommendations pre-pandemic, and even direct links to external e-commerce stores. TikTok is also launching a new seller university, currently in testing in Indonesia, to help creators tap into the growing number of e-commerce options available on the platform. For reference, the Chinese version of TikTok, Douyin, owned by the same parent company ByteDance, currently generates most of its revenue through in-stream shopping rather than through standard advertising. So that does mean that there is a proven road to success for the platform this way, so expect them to roll out every option available to get the platform up to speed and to profit. During this year's Super Bowl, Snapchat rolled out AR lenses to help users celebrate, and they've just revealed that over half of all US Snapchat users toyed with these lenses. Most of the lenses involved partnerships with the brands who'd already paid for Super Bowl spots, like Cheetos, who allowed users to claim a free bag of the chips just by scanning their Super Bowl ad with the Snapchat camera. AR generally remains a pretty hot topic, with Facebook and Apple both building AR-enabled glasses, which Snapchat has been experimenting with in the form of spectacles for a while. We've talked about it previously, so keep an eye on augmented reality experiences to become more and more mainstream. And overnight, Facebook has banned news on the platform in Australia. It's a bit of a blunt force trauma approach, apparently just clicking a button, restricting any pages that seem to refer kind of constantly to their own website with the .com.au domain, including government pages like the Bureau of Meteorology and even the Facebook page itself. Even if you're not in Australia or you're not Australian yourself, you'll no longer be able to share news articles from Australian sources. It's the latest move in an ongoing row with the Australian federal government over a proposed media bargaining code, which passed the lower house last night. Google recently made deals with major International Publishers 9 and 7 to pay them for the news content, which the code does set out to enforce. But the definition of news is deliberately vague on the government's behalf, mostly to drive as much revenue through the law as possible. Google threatened to turn their search service off in Australia before swiftly signing similar deals with publishers in France and Brazil. So perhaps it's aware of the writing on the wall with respect to kind of news content available for free and helping them drive their own sort of search revenue without any kickbacks. Facebook, on the other hand, just is not willing to let governments dictate how its platform works. Zuckerberg is pretty famously the autocratic leader of the service, so what he says goes, and he's on record as having said he doesn't want to hold the hand of the publishing industry as it dies. The best comparison is Australia's Me First campaign for plain packaging on cigarettes. Tobacco companies fought it tooth and nail, but eventually the legislation did end up catching on elsewhere, and it led to a global wave of plain packaging kind of on cigarettes everywhere. We seem to be staring down the barrel of a pretty similar newsless sort of social media platforms for the next little while, but whether or not it's a good thing depends on who you ask and ultimately who you work for. So stay tuned for even more on that. We'll provide updates as we have them. That's all from us this week. Don't forget you can read the rest of the article on the website, and stay tuned next week for even more. Thanks.